like to hold a public hearing regarding the Quarry Road issue as well as the ordinance. We're going to have a town meeting soon. Would it make sense to have you write up your proposed changes? And it's not stated here in the scenic road ordinance, and have a public vote on it at the town meeting rather than holding two. Please let me know your thoughts. Thanks and do well. So Chandler is aware that we had the Development Review Committee meeting, and we reviewed the the non-permitted activity on a scenic road, and we made a recommendation that a penalty be added to the ordinance in the future, because it's been frustrating for Chandler, because although the ordinance was violated, there's nothing in the ordinance to say that he could do anything. So we recommended that the ordinance be updated. And it took me by surprise today that I would have to word this, because I believe this is something that we should be working on with planning and zoning, seeing that they're the ones that enforce the ordinance. But I did do some research, and I looked at the fees for activity on a scenic road, and there's $100 fee, application fee, plus an additional $225 public hearing fee that the planning and zoning has to, because any activity is required to have a public hearing. So just to get your permit, it's going to cost you $325. And also you have to notify all the property owners along the road by certified mail to make them aware that there is this upcoming application for activity on a scenic road. So my thought process is it should cost more in penalties than it should cost in the fees to get the permit, because then it will make it more practical to get the permit. But I really would like to have an open discussion on this. It shouldn't be what I think.
So this is Crystal Adams. I had looked into other towns' scenic road ordinances when this issue first came to light. Some ordinances are written similar to ours. The other ordinances that do enact a fee, most of the ones that I looked at, it seemed to be like $100 a day was the fee. Those that did have a fee, that's what it was. So that, I'm not sure if that might be like something in the state statute that that's the maximum you're allowed to do. But the couple of towns that I found, that's what they had.
$100 a day until they repair the damage?
Yes.
Okay.
And then they have to pay for the damage on top of that $100 a day.
Yes.
They have to repair the damage, and it's $100 a day. But it's not, that's not what he's asking us. He's not, we're, you know, our committee's not going to come up with a fine.
Yeah, who's asking this?
Well, I thought he was
Chandler.
asking us our opinion for how we'd want to change the ordinance and update the ordinance, and I thought enacting a fee was one of the things being considered.
Yes.
So that's why I offered that.
Right, but he's asking whether we want a separate meeting or whether we want to, you know, tie it in, you know, tie it into the public town meeting that's going to be held already.
Right, but usually when it goes to the town meeting, you've got the language all ready to go. So this discussion would have been, would be had.
The question number one is, do we want a separate meeting, or do we want to go, you know,
a public here, a meeting, a town meeting cost about $5,000 or something with all the stuff that, or maybe that's a vote, but it's expensive to have a town meeting. It's best if everything is, you know, item A, item B, item C. This came up a lot faster than I thought it would. I'm really pleased that Chandler is asking for our advice, but I feel that this is something we should be also working with planning and zoning and maybe even the highway department on recommendations if there's going to be a change to the ordinance in this respect, some kind of penalty, and who's responsible for making sure that the repair work was done appropriately. Who's, you know, I mean, this whole thing that was happened on Quarry Road was it was pretty bold in what was done. And it wasn't a minor infraction. It was like a major amount of trees, mature trees taken down along the road frontage. So yeah, there should be a penalty, $100 a day. If can you, Crystal? Because I haven't looked at them. Do you have those other ordinances that we can just kind of copy and paste something and consider that without reinventing the wheel?
Yeah, they're on my server at work. They're not
Okay.
here with me at home, but yeah.
That'd be good. And then I think we should have a meeting with planning and zoning, or go to the planning and zoning meeting and ask this to be an agenda item to discuss a penalty in the ordinance in the future. I mean, they went through a lot of trouble to work out details with the highway department, what they could and couldn't do, and then to have a citizen come in and do that kind of major changes on that road.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. Do we want to have a separate meeting with the selectmen, or do you want to, like Chandler suggests, present our ideas at the town meeting?
No, I think he was asking if we were going to have two separate town meetings.
No, he says we are going to have a town meeting soon. Would it make sense to have you write up your proposed changes and have the public vote on it at the town meeting rather than holding two? So what's the answer?
Town meetings, because it would have to go to town meeting.
Yes.
So
do we want a second town meeting, or do we want?
No, I don't. I think if we can work it out to have it in the same town meeting, it's best for the town in terms of costs.
Okay, is everybody comfortable with, and just to note, Jim Kading's here. Is everybody in agreement for that we don't need a separate meeting? We could present our proposal at the planned town meeting. And anyone disagree with that?
This is Crystal Adams, and I agree to tie it with a town meeting.
Okay.
I would agree. This is Jim. Do we know when that would be?
I don't have the date for that yet.
Yeah, he didn't give us we're going to have a town meeting soon, so I don't think they've scheduled it. And then, so the second thing is, he's asking for our proposed changes. Why can't we just go to the meeting? I mean, how much work is it going to be for you, Gene, to meet with P&Z, or have us meet, not you, but have us meet with P&Z and the foreman, and rather than just going to the meeting with our own. I mean, Chandler's asking us for the changes.
We would have to provide the language, and people would vote on the language.
Okay.
So I don't feel comfortable writing the language and saying I represent everybody in Woodstock. I think this is something that, because it's planning and zoning's oversight, they need to be brought into the loop on this. And I think they'd be willing to if we, help them with it. And Crystal's already looked up what other towns have done. It's just a matter of making some meetings and getting on their agenda, which is not difficult to do. And also meeting with the selectmen and, sharing it with them, and they can maybe get the highway foreman in as well.
Well, do you think we can get that all accomplished?
I don't have a timeline, so
public...
I can't say if it's possible, because I don't have a timeline to do all this.
Right. So maybe it's more practical just to write up our recommendations, and then they can argue it at the public meeting.
I think Ken was reaching out for help.
Right, but if logistically, because of the timeline, that's not going to be possible, what's the next best thing?
Okay, can I just say something? This is Crystal.
Yeah.
All right, so there's always going to be another town meeting. So if we don't have a date set for the next town meeting, it's been in discussion, and there's a few things that are getting wrapped up to go into that town meeting. So if we don't have this all ready to go by then, we just kick it to the next town meeting, because there will always be a next town meeting. There's a plethora of different projects kind of down the pipeline that have to go to a town meeting, and they don't all come to fruition at once. There's different timelines and different things you have to wait on before you can put them forward. So if we
Okay,
don't
so-
make the next, the whatever the next one is going to be, then, it's not a big deal. We just keep
Okay.
working on it and it'll go on to the next town meeting agenda.
So I'm gonna write back to Chandler. We're going to try to do our best to have everything ready for the upcoming town meeting, but if we can't, we'll need, a second town meeting to.
Right, let him know that we want to meet with Board of Selectmen.
Okay,
And that we want to meet with Planning and Zoning because we believe they should both be involved in
okay,
this discussion.
Yeah, not only they should be involved, but they should primarily be involved. Like, why would anybody on this commission write an ordinance regarding penalties?
well, no, Chandler's not, I think he's just asking for idea. I think we have a unique opportunity. He's asking for ideas. So,
It is our job to be advisory to all the commissions, including the Board of Selectmen. So,
Yeah.
and he asked for our input. Our DRC report about this violation was pretty clear that we feel that there needs to be this. And that was kind of channeling something that Chandler had said, that he feels frustrated that there is no penalty. And like, as first selectman, he's our chief law enforcement officer. Is that correct, Crystal?
Yes.
yes,
So
Can-
how does he
can-
go out and say, you violated the ordinance, and the ordinance says you have to do? It doesn't say.
I want to raise a point that I raised last time, that there doesn't need to be a penalty in an ordinance to hold someone accountable for causing damage. Right, the damage is the cost to repair the damage. So if he cut down a tree that wasn't his, then the amount of the damage is the cost to replace the tree.
Well,
This is Crystal. Can I just ask that if, when we talk, that we say our names, it's part of the FOI thing for remote meetings, and
Yeah, sorry, that's Jason Allard. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Just like, I know I've got my camera turned off, and I think most people do, but it just makes it harder.
So again, this is Jason Allard, and I agree that there definitely should be a specified penalty in the ordinance. And I agree with Lee's perspective that the cost has to outweigh, or the penalty has to outweigh the cost
That's
of just
Gene. That's
complying. Oh, okay, Gene, I agree with Gene's perspective there. Otherwise, people will just feel like they can buy their way into doing whatever they want. But that doesn't change the fact that even absent an ordinance, if someone went in and caused damage, the penalty is the amount to undo the damage that they did. And that doesn't need to be, that applies to anybody, whether you're a town or anybody. There's no ordinance that says no one can drive their car across my lawn. But if someone drives their car across my lawn and digs it up, then the amount that they owe me is the cost to repair the damage to my property. I don't understand why I don't understand why that's a problem. Like, I don't understand why we haven't conveyed that's the penalty.
The American legal system usually has a civil penalty for, violating laws.
Jim, can you back me up on this? Am I way off base here?
He's retired now.
Yeah, certainly not my area, but I think you're right, Jason, but I think that you could have both. So
I think there should be both, but one doesn't preclude the other.
right. So you could have, because I think the ordinance could say, I would imagine that, the damages would be whatever the cost to repair. Plus there's a fine for,
Yeah, a fine.
I think Crystal mentioned a daily fine, for how long it's gone unaddressed. That could be assessed as well.
And I think that's a fantastic idea. I'm just questioning, is our position that the guy who did this before that we pass an ordinance gets off scot-free? Because this already happened. This isn't, we're trying to plan for future events, but this happened already.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think you can find, I think all we can do is hold them responsible for repairing the damage he's done. But if there's no fine in place, you know,
I don't
September
think-
20th. You can't do
Lee,
it
I don't think that's-
retroactively.
I don't think that's correct. Lee, I don't think that that's correct. And I think that that needs to be brought up to somebody in the town with a legal background and not somebody with a background regarding, you know, water conservation and this board. That's a question of this, if the person caused damages, the town has a case against the person.
Correct.
And we don't need to say, oh, well, there was no ordinance in place at the
No,
time specifying exactly what the penalties are.
No, that's not what I'm saying. You can't, we can't pass $100 a day fine. Well, actually, maybe we could, and as you can't retroactively go back and say the fine starts the date that he did the damage, but I suppose the day you pass the fine, that would be
and I agree. You can't retroactively assert a
Yeah.
fine, but you
yeah,
can
so that's
say,
all I was saying.
right? But is someone saying, okay, you cut down 10 mature oak trees? The cost to the value of 10 mature oak trees is X, and you damage the road, and the value or the cost to repair the road is X, and so you owe us 2X, right? You owe us this money. The fact that there's no penalty, there's no specified, you know, fine, doesn't really matter for the case of. So my question is, has anybody said to this guy, here's how much you owe? And is anybody addressing that?
No.
Well, he was
And-
sent a
Not.
cease and desist letter, and I'm not sure where, you know, what the next steps are, but that is being looked at, I'm sure.
It is. Okay.
This is
That's-
Mara Roby. Can I chime in?
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
go ahead, Maura.
Well, I was just gonna say, so inland wetlands has a part in this too, right? Like, so they have fines that they can be, depending on where those trees were, if they were in wetlands, which Gene had maps and it seemed maybe they were. So yeah, I kind of wonder too, like who sent the cease and desist? Was it planning and zoning? Do we know?
It
think it was
was
select-
our zoning official.
Oh.
This is Crystal, it was our zoning official.
The planning and zoning.
Okay, so, but I think we told Eversource if they cut down trees, they had to replace it. So was that based on a separate contract agreement with Eversource, or is there some language somewhere that trees cut down have to be replaced?
It's a rule of damages. It's a very
Yeah.
general rule of damages. Now, figuring out what the value of a tree is very specific, and you need some kind of expert, and that expert is not me. But someone, and I think I said this last month too, the governor didn't get away with it. The governor didn't get away with cutting down a bunch of trees. He had to pay to have trees, and it was to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars, if I recall. And we would be very remiss if there was not any kind of pursuit against this person who took you know, took full advantage of treating town property like it was his own property.
Right. Okay,
Right.
so
Would
I'm gonna
be-
write Chandler that we're gonna do our best to have our proposal ready for the plan meeting, but we need to meet with the selectmen, P and Z, et cetera. So potentially I'll have to wait until the following meeting.
Well, like I said, this is Jean. We still don't have a deadline on when this meeting is, so I don't know what my timeline is. And it
Yeah.
is something that any town ordinance should be reviewed by the town attorney before we present it to the public. And I don't know who's gonna expense that legal review. If we write suggested language, are we responsible for paying for the town attorney to review it? Or what? So this is something that I think I need to try to be a select.
This is Crystal Adams, and I can find that out tomorrow.
Thank you. This is Jean. When is the next selectmen's meeting?
I believe in 2 weeks. It is,
Oh, it's,
Uh,
yeah, the
I don't
second.
have a calendar in front of me, Jean.
It's the second because it's the same day as the Plan of Conservation and Development meeting.
So then that is 2 weeks. It's the first and
Yeah,
third
that's a
Thursday.
Thursday. And that means they meet at 4 o'clock.
6.
I think the first meeting is 4 o'clock and the second meeting is 6 o'clock, I believe.
Yeah, POCD is at 6. So the selectmen, I think, meet at 4.
It is,
on that.
it's 4 PM on the second.
That's going to be hard. I'm going to have to find someone else to watch my granddaughter that day.
And then on the 16th, they meet at 6 PM.
And let's jump ahead. Gene, tell us what, DRC came up with, just so we don't get off topic here.
Okay, I mean, I did have that report. Everybody received a copy of it, but there was a very clear violation of the ordinance where Brian Sheldon, who purchased a property on Quarry Road, went into the road, and it was a section of the road that he owned some of the property on one side. The other side of the road is owned by Wyndham Land Trust. And he wants to bring power into his property, and he wants to bring it in from Swedetown Road, Pomfret, because there's power up that way, and that's the shortest distance. So he leveled the road. I mean, the road, it was not in good repair. I've driven on that road. And then he widened the road. He took down mature trees. There was a really close tree canopy there. And that's been opened up, and very mature trees, and like, I don't know how many, but Ray and Pam shared pictures with me of these trees that he just pushed over and then dragged them up onto his property where he had a clearing. And then he like kind of graded the side of the road, no stormwater protections, no grass to stabilize the side of the road. This extends all the way into Pomfret. I only went up as far as the turn to go into the Perrin Road property the town used to own that we gave to Wyndham Land Trust. I didn't continue further into Pomfret, but what they did, there's a clearing in Pomfret that he made on Wyndham Land Trust property.
Right.
That blows my mind. But yeah, he widened the road. I don't know if any standards were followed for this work. I don't know if the shoulders are properly graded, or if the drainage is proper. There's some sensitive wetlands in the area. And so it was definitely a clear violation of the ordinance to do this work without a special permit from planning and zoning. And his purpose is so that on Quarry Road, you're gonna have to bury your utilities. You needed that opened up so he can run utility lines up and to across from his property. I can do a
Yes,
slideshow if anybody wants to see it.
No,
But suffice to say, we're, one of the things we do is review town roads. And, for the town maintenance people to, do something to a road, they ask our opinion. You went in and just did it. And then he cut down land on the Wyndham Land Trust.
and he's continuing to do it, in case you're
Crazy.
interested. He's
Oh.
trying to get a second road in from property
What?
here in Woodstock. And he's telling people that he has the right of way, and he does not, because I spoke to the owner. So we have major problems with this gentleman, trust me.
Okay, so we're gonna, try to get the other town committees on board and hear what their opinions are and come up with language. So when the next town meeting, hopefully, you know, is scheduled, we'll be there to, you know, offer some language. And I mean, good job, Gene. This is, you know, something our committee's really, you know, going to help the town, you know, when all is said and done over something like this. So,
Well, I think I'm going to target being at 3 meetings on October 2nd because I know planning and zoning meets after the POCD meeting and the Board of Selectmen meets before. I will work to get myself on the agenda for both those meetings so we can have this conversation. And before then, Crystal, I would like for you to send me sample language from other towns that have penalties in their scenic road ordinance. So I have something to present.
Yeah, I can do that.
And that way it'll all be done before the, you know, next meeting and possibly, you know, again, it's going to have to take time, you know, once we have sample language and everybody agrees on that sample language, then the town attorney reviews it to make sure that it's okay, and then it'll be ready to go into town meeting for a vote.
right, but that's just our recommendations for the fine. We came up with, you know, you wrote down a whole list
Right.
of
But that wasn't
other
the question
things.
that Chandler asked, which is what we're discussing right now.
Okay.
Right now, we're discussing what we should do. What amendments are we requesting for the ordinance?
Right, but we also want to make sure they, you know, understand our opinions on how future activities should be handled. All the comments and suggestions that the DRC came up with, we also want to present. All that's important.
Right. That was that report. This is Jean. That report was sent to John Guskowski, the ZEO, town planner, wetlands enforcement person. So he is aware. I do not have email addresses for David Morse, who's the chair of planning and zoning, nor do I have an email to send to the chair of wetlands. So I'll have to talk to John to make sure he forwards it on and make sure that that document gets into their next meeting packet, because I want them to be copied on this. Their input is important.
Okay, any other discussion on this or questions for Jean? But again, good, you know, I'm impressed by our committee. You know, this is something really good that we picked up on. It doesn't sound like anyone else would have done anything about it.
Well, I think there was perhaps some confusion. This is Jean again at some point, because I mean, there was hearsay that Mr. Sheldon approached somebody from the town and said, yeah, go ahead, you could do that, without any, you know,
right,
thought about the scenic road ordinance. I don't know who that person was that was approached and whether
This is Crystal Adams. I don't believe that is true at all.
Okay.
Right, but he said he told Wyndham Land Trust that the town said okay, and he told the town that Wyndham Land Trust said okay, right?
Mhm.
And neither, you know, neither was true, probably. Okay, any other communications?
No, I didn't find any.
Okay. So on to old business. We heard the DRC report. Crystal, anything with open space?
Dawn is talking with, I believe, Joan Nichols to discuss having a presentation on PA 490, and we'll be trying to work with her to get a date and get that scheduled.
What would that be on about?
PA 490?
Yeah. Just to
On-
let
on-
people know that it's available, or,
Yeah, and so they could learn about the program.
okay, good. Because I know years ago there was like thoughts of, canceling it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
This is Mara. Crystal, is that gonna be just for Woodstock folks, or is that gonna be advertised somewhere?
I'm not sure on the details yet. I mean, it's going to be targeted to Woodstock folks, but as a public meeting, anyone can attend. And as soon as
Okay.
when we have a date, we will be, putting it on the website and Facebook. And I'm not sure, maybe taking an ad out. I don't know yet.
That's good to know for the Natchog Watershed Project, that we do have a work group that, is trying to see, about making sure that, town land officials have education, so that would be good. We could try to advertise and get folks in the Natchog Watershed to go to that if that's acceptable.
Yeah, that would be terrific, I'm sure.
Cool.
okay. P and Z,
I haven't seen anything.
yeah, there was discussion there on multi-housing, your multi-dwelling units, but we don't review any of those, so nothing germane for us.
This is Jean. That is a topic of conversation we're also talking about in the Plan of Conservation and Development update, and what housing options we have in town. So that is something that we're all hyper focused on. And I would like to bring that up if it's not here. There's no POCD old business line. Can I bring that up? We're looking at, Woodstock is way under the goals for towns for the affordable housing. I'm gonna misstate the numbers, but I know we're a little over 1% of the housing in our town qualifies as affordable housing. We have very limited amount of, senior housing. And somebody's counted out how many apartments and stuff. And if we want to have more housing diversity in town, do our regulations permit it? So that's why P&Z is looking at that. I'm sorry. I need to get a drink. Hold on. Let's move on to the next item.
Much talking.
Yeesh. Yeesh.
Poor Jean.
Yeah. Okay, so move on. So Ag Commission, Grace?
Nothing that would concern us.
Stewardship, Jim?
Sure. So I been working on on this project, and actually Rebecca Hyde has been with her. She had a grant on soil study on town-owned land or town land. So she's also been with some overlap in this project. So she's done a lot of work on that and gathering the conservation easements for that exist in the town. It seems to me that there, as best as I can tell, there are about 30, more or less. And so we have all the easement documents, not necessarily all the maps there to go with it. But one of the other things that I found was in just doing a search on what other towns or other places have done in terms of conservation commissions monitoring conservation easements. The best thing I found was from the University of New Hampshire Cooperative Extension, and they had a training guide for monitoring conservation easements, which I think was really helpful. I sent it to Lee. I can send it to everybody else here, after this meeting or whatever, take a look at it. But I think that we possibly could do is at least if there are, let's say there are 30. I'm just talking about conservation easements, not town-owned land, not anything else, but just the properties where there have been easements given to the town. that is our job to monitor. I think, and Jason mentioned this to me months ago, that, you know, rather than find somebody else, a landowner who's abutting it, or the landowner himself to monitor it, and maybe we should be the ones to be doing that. Then there's no conflict between, you know, letting things slide or whatever. So if we took that approach, if there were 30, I'm not sure that we could do 30 a year. You know, ideally, probably you'd want to do an annual visit to each site, but I'm not sure that that's realistic for us. But if we did it every 2 years, there would be, you know, maybe 15 is more reasonable. But I think we would need, you know, a sort of a dedicated handful of people to do this. I'd be willing to do it, but, you know, sort of a subcommittee to look at this. I think we could hopefully get started this fall, you know, at least doing a couple of them. Not sure how deep, you know, we could do it through the year, I suppose, without, if there's not too much snow. We could do it during the winter as well. Those are my
Jim,
thoughts.
Of the 30 easements you're aware of, do you know how many of them have a dedicated steward?
I don't think any of them do. The easements just say that the town has the right to go in and monitor.
Yeah.
There's no other person is identified in these easements.
Yeah, this is Mara. So when Beth and I were doing that, we tried to start getting people. So Jim, also, I could try to find information from Joshua's Trust, which is where I used to work, and they have a lot of information on you know, monitoring and stuff. But it is, sorry, I got booted off there, so I don't know if I heard everything you said, but it is typical to have not the property owner or the, you know, the people that to do it, but to have a neighbor, because they're there and they're it's easier for them, right, to do it when it's right there. And I think we've had issues in the past with that's why it hasn't gotten done, because not enough people from the commission are able to do it. But it is typical to have a neighbor, somebody who cares, you know, about the property, who's there, who sees things, and it's easy for them, and they don't have an interest because they're not on the property. So that's just to give you some input of some of the things that I've encountered. Yeah, so I don't know why we ended it was really difficult to find the boundary markers.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
like your first step. You got to make
Yeah.
sure all the boundaries are marked.
Yep.
And that's what we were in the process of doing. And I know Grace and I went out and you know, just to do one of those, like we couldn't even find all the boundaries. So it just ends up being like you have to have a lot of time, I think, to really put towards it. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we kind of got. Beth and I did a couple of them. We marked the boundaries, but I don't know. It just ended up sort of we didn't have time, and things, you know, got in the way.
Right.
So that's the background that I know.
I would think that the advantage of having maybe a subcommittee of people doing it, some uniform approach to each of the properties, so that, you know, looking for the same things, and a standardized approach would make more sense. So
I think if you have, like you said, there's handbooks. And so what Joshua's Trust would do is they would have a training like once a year, and any new stewards would get the training. And so there's literally a checklist, and they all are supposed to go through the checklist. So it should be standard if you give them a standard, you know, so that's kind of how it usually works.
Gene.
This is Jean. Years ago, we developed a list for doing a baseline of properties once they're accepted as easements for the town. And I have no idea where that baseline template is anymore. In the downstairs vault, there were binders that we purchased so that we can do this documentation, which is a legal document, baseline document, to show what the condition of land was with photos and the whole thing. I don't know if those binders are still there. I think we bought about 30 of them at one point. We just bought a bunch of binders and they got put in that storage area. But I was not involved in that project, so I can't give you more information than that.
That's a good thing that actually speaks to Jim's idea of having the process owned within the commission, whether it's a subcommittee or otherwise, is that there can be not only a consistency, but there can also be a continuity. So not just a consistent approach, but if somebody leaves the commission that's doing this, then that task gets passed off onto someone else. Versus if you have a neighbor doing it and the neighbor moves, they're not reaching out to the next neighbor and saying, hey, by the way, a responsibility that comes with this address is that you go look at that address once a year. So it's a kind of a long way of saying I like Jim's idea that the commission owns the process one way or the other. I think that it does create some more work, and I agree with that, but I think it also has a number of advantages versus trying to find other third parties to take on that responsibility.
Yeah, well, certainly it hasn't worked out for the last 20 years. So a change in the way we do it is, I would agree with. Yeah, Jim. First Jim and then Gene.
I suppose it's not an either or thing too. If we sort of own the project or supervise it, but if we're able to get volunteer stewards from the community, and not necessarily, I don't, maybe this is pie in the sky, but not necessarily neighbors, but maybe people who are willing to do this within the town, that would expand beyond our vast empire here on the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
Okay, Gene.
I'm just I am one of the stewards for a property of Wyndham Land Trust, the Zealandia property, which is on Roseland Lake or Muddy Brook, that corner. And their process is pretty simple. I did have to go to training. And then once a year, I have to go onto the property. I go by kayak. And they actually have a phone app that you go and you take pictures of the property. They ask you to look for this, that, the other thing. You check off the thing. And then it generates a report to them. And it simplifies the whole process. And then I get a thank you email for doing it. So
which land trust was that, Gene?
Wyndham Land Trust.
Wyndham. Okay. I think I looked at both Wyndham Land Trust and Joshua Land Trust. I didn't see anything on their websites, but that obviously doesn't mean it's not there in the background.
It really simplifies the process. You're looking for trash, you're looking for evidence of people riding trails or whatever it was that they had on their checklist. I don't remember. The property I was looking at is a forested wetland that was completely impenetrable. And I just went along the outside edge and said, everything looks great, but because they're accredited, they have to have all their properties visited every year. That's their policy. So they know I like to kayak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other? I'm sorry.
Sorry, again, in order to send out a steward, you have to give them maps of the boundaries. And they are supposed to walk the boundaries if they can, because that's where you're going to get the encroachments, whether it's, meant to be done or just by accident. So those are typically what I've seen. I've been a steward as well, as issues. So that's an important piece.
Jim?
What I'll do is I'll follow up with both Jean and Maura, and ask, about that information about that you just mentioned, Jean, and Maura with the Joshua Lane Trust. Maybe I can contact somebody there, but I'll talk to you separately after this meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay, then back to Jean. You got your water?
Yeah, I got my water. I chugged that down quick.
Okay.
Pollinator pathway.
No, for the POD, you were talking on the multi-unit.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that one.
That's what started you coughing.
Yeah.
I
It takes your breath
shouldn't have said
away.
anything.
Okay, as far as housing options in Woodstock, we find there's a lot of conflicts because the state wants affordable housing, but we also have to protect drinking water supplies. So we tend to have larger lot sizes to allow for bigger septic systems and backup reserves areas for when the leaching field fails in the future. So we have these 2.5 lot minimums that make land very expensive. So if you're going to spend that much money in the land, then you're not going to spend, you're not going to put a little house on it. You're going to, especially if you're a builder, you want to make a profit. And so some of those things are under discussion. What can we do that would meet the goals of resource conservation, but also affordable housing options? And so that's something that we've been discussing. And people talked about tiny house villages with community septic systems. Is that something we could do in town? How multifamily houses, and again, how do you deal with the septic systems? And so that's been a lot of a serious discussion that we're having. But we also want to encourage agritourism, and we want to encourage ecotourism. And we have very minimal amounts of accommodations for people who want to, come to the area and spend time here, like for the weekend. Or if we have wedding venues, but you have to go out of town to get a hotel, kind of thing. So those are discussions that we're having. And I just wanted to know before the next meeting if anybody had any thoughts about that.
Crystal? Oh,
I'm sorry, what?
I saw your box light up. I thought you were something.
Oh, no,
Okay.
no.
Anyone
Jean?
have any comments?
Yes, Jean,
Yes?
do you know about, NECOG sent an email, I got it, planning for vibrant communities. Fortunately, well, it's September 27th in Hampton. And it's about that very topic. So it says recommendations for increasing and diversifying community housing, all based along that. So do you want me to forward you that email?
Please do.
Okay.
Okay, anything else POD wise, Gene? Any questions for Gene? Okay, pollinator pathway.
Okay, I have a big shout out for Jason. He's done a marvelous job at the Memorial Pollinator Garden at the Grange. He had 30 hours to give to that project. I was, I guess, his mentor to or whatever for his Master Gardener's obligation. And he's been keeping me up to date on everything. I drove by there today, and it's looking really good. The shrubs are surviving. That hibiscus we put in for Maura's mom is just amazing.
Yeah.
More things survived than I thought were going to, and So thank you. We should all just thank Jason for his effort on that part. But his time is up, and that project is not going to just stay static. We have an issue with knotweed there. We have an issue with quackgrass, and we're going to have to schedule spring, summer, and probably fall work parties to keep that up to date. I will continue to try to work with Amy to see if we get anybody from the Grange to help out. But so far, no one has said anything. I could see if anybody from the garden club could help out. But in order to keep that looking good until those shrubs really fill in, it's going to take a lot of effort to keep that knotweed where it belongs.
Yeah, I did 4 cuts of it and only one piece. I didn't do the whole thing. I couldn't. And I did 4 cuts this year, and and you're only supposed to do 3, and 3 didn't do it. It was like, oh, that was brushing me off. Like, who do you think you are? Yeah, it was a tough spot.
And Maura,
Yeah.
Maura,
Yeah, I mean, as you probably know, a lot of us are now getting older, and I know the garden club folks might be too. And I would love to try to see one of the local school groups or Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts. I wonder if, we could have the younger folks helping us out, even college kids, people that need to, have time. I guess high school, they need to put in volunteer time. Because I just know for me, I recently, my arm was bothering me and I had to go to PT, and it's like, I can't be pulling
Right.
weeds. I'm sorry.
Oh no, yeah,
You
and
know,
stuff there is tenacious too.
yeah,
It's not like pulling up dandelions. It's
right. So I think really I encourage to get the younger generation out there, and then they can learn about invasives. I mean, there's so many benefits, I think, to getting college or high school kids or
I like that suggestion. This is Jean. I know that at the Arboretum, they've had some success getting students up from Pomfret School to help at the Arboretum, um, and occasionally from Woodstock Academy. So those are 2 targets, but somebody's going to have to take the lead to make sure that this is scheduled and it happens, because it's a shame to put in this effort and then just let it go. I can be available sometimes, but I'm not going to be around forever. So we have to be thinking about, this responsibility of what we created, we started.
now is that Grange property, or what is the status of that, like of that garden? Is it public property? Can anybody go in there and walk through the flowers, or what's the
Well, the Grange is open to the public, so that's anybody could go and look at it. I don't think I can ever imagine the Grange saying, "Don't look at our flowers."
right? Yeah.
But yeah, the other piece on that garden is that I finally ordered the sign. Jason has found some bigger rocks that we can adhere the sign to. The price is going to be around $100. I have a donor who's going to pay for the sign. I don't know if she's going to pay for the whole thing, or if it goes over $100, do we have to pick up the rest? I don't have the final estimate. She's going to give me her final proof, or actually she should send me her final proof. It does have a QR code on the sign. The QR code brings you to the pollinator pathway page on the Woodstock Conservation Commission website. And I went on the website and I updated that page to talk about the project. So people can get information that if they want to plant something there, how to go about doing that. So those are some of the efforts I was able to put in this month.
okay. Crystal, the Connecticut, the I'm getting my
Sustainable Connecticut.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything to report.
Okay. 50 Acre Wood, you guys were talking a little, so what, like 3-4 weeks ago, Crystal and her husband Nate were out. I had my group, and we actually, and then the gentleman who was the steward kind of came out and met me because he saw we were cleaning the trails. So it turned out that he kind of allowed the overgrowth that did away with the full circle path because kids were coming in with ATVs, and he took it upon himself to, kind of let a portion of the trail to overgrow. But that portion, there's no way people can drive through ATVs now because there's down trees that you kind of have to climb over in several places, and it's pretty steep and narrow. And of course, I think he was talking about 15, 20 years ago. So I imagine all the kids have grown up. So whoever was coming through. But the bottom line is our two groups managed to mark a full loop. So we went through this dense forest and we cleaned it, and there is a full loop around the trail now. And my wife was there last weekend, and she says people were riding through with horses because there's horse manure there.
Yeah, my neighbor goes out there. I've ridden with her.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So it's coming along. So what do you think, Crystal? It's coming along, huh?
Yeah, it's coming along. I know we want to go back out and do a little bit more out there because we got, we met up with you and then we went past where we met you to kind of widen it a little bit.
Mhm.
And I know we want to do more, but I think we had been out there for a while and had to turn around. So we'll try to get out there before the October event, but it's passable now.
Yeah, and it's all marked too.
Yeah.
I put spread, but the only thing that we didn't finish is the short loop. The loop that like loops back on itself. I didn't go through with the markers for that one, but we have a big, around the entire circumference path now. So, I imagine there's places where I'd like to get some stones in because, there's areas that are definitely prone to washout, and the trail could get a little slippery, but, at least we have a foundation to kind of work with now. And it's all marked out. So,
well,
good, Grace.
When you make a date, let me know so I can go out with you guys before the walk. And I'm, seeing as I said I would do the walk, I need to see what's going on. I did go out myself the other day, and it got tiring. I said, no, I'm not going to do this. But do you need any more markers, or it's marked enough?
No, it's pretty big. I don't think there's probably one spot where I'd like to go back in because you have to continue up the path before you see the next marker. But no,
yes,
it's marked well enough where nobody's going to get lost.
Okay. Well, you've never seen me on a bad day.
But it's probably at least 2 miles now.
Well, I went to the left rather than go, the other way. And as I said, I got pretty far. And I know exactly where you're talking about, because I thought to myself, this needs another marker because you can't see it, you
Right.
know, and by the time we do the walk in October, a lot more leaves will be down and it will be a lot easier to see markers, you know, so that's helpful, but
And then I think I might have like put one in because I didn't, it got really pretty dense. So it was
yes,
like a Y, and I kind of
yes.
went in the wrong way, and I may have marked something that's going to dead end instead of the regular trail, because you couldn't, it was so freaking overgrown. You just wouldn't believe
Yeah,
it. But I
well,
had,
it's
I had some
probably been
people
10
go
years,
from
yes,
one
since we
end
went there.
and
Yeah.
say,
I say it's probably been 10 years since we did
Yeah.
anything to it. So, you know,
okay, so that's taken care of. Okay, how was celebrating Ag Day, Grace?
it was okay. It was not very well attended. The building last year was full, the Better Living building, and literally it was less than half the people. There were a lot of, you know, a lot of little kids, and that was fine. I mean, it was okay. I think a lot of the Woodstock people bailed. And because I spoke to Avis, the lady who's kind of doing the Normans, they oversee it. And she said a lot of, well, as I said, literally the building was only half full. It was a lot of people that were there before, and I'm not sure why. I don't know, because it was a beautiful day. And there were a lot of kids, and it was okay.
This is Jean. I put up a picture of the new display that we created for this. I called it Hype Woodstock. It really should be Wander Woodstock because none of our trails are more than a mile and a half long. But I found 13 different places, leaving out the Little River boardwalk, places you can go hiking in Woodstock. And it was the people that I spoke to when I was there. I started out there at 9 o'clock, and I think I left about 10:30. People were like, "Wow, I didn't know there were places to hike in Woodstock." So I thought that was a pretty interesting feedback. People that walked by really studied it, so it was interesting. And Crystal has asked me to do something with this so we can put this up on town website. So I will try when I get a chance to go on the Woodstock Conservation Commission website, which is a different format that I'm used to editing, to see if I can make a page about this on put the map up and all the different properties, all the trails that we have that, it's just as a place to start, and then people might be able to tell us more places. And I'm hoping Wyndham Land Trust is going to be adding places to this as they have acquired the New York-Square Land Trust properties, and will be eventually developing them as well for recreation, passive recreation.
Thank you. Maury, you had something for old business?
I don't know, the Natchog project or,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so we're continuing to move along. We have an advisory board, and then we also have 5 work groups. We did an event actually on Saturday to try to educate folks. It was actually in Mansfield. And I guess I've said before that if anyone's interested in helping out either on a work group, I would say just reach out to me. There's Forest and Open Space Protection is one work group, Healthy Residential Landscapes, riparian, wildlife corridors, and pollinator pathways, and town land use officials education is another one, and cold water stream habitat. So if people, maybe if people don't have time, because we're meeting once a month online, but we'll be setting up events and things. So maybe I'll just try to make sure I let everybody know when we advertise. Maybe people can just help out, for certain projects or events. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on.
Thank you. Okay, I think we covered all business. So on to new business. Anyone have the opportunity to go any meetings last month or aware of anything coming up? I got a couple. There's Yale Forest
Oh, yeah.
on Saturday, September 27th, which is this Saturday, 2 to 6. There's a potluck community dinner. It's a harvest festival. There's going to be crafts and timber sports and music. So it's a bonfire at 5 o'clock. So it sounds like a pretty nice event. So if anybody wants the link to RSVP, just let me know. And then time flies. Khaki Week's coming up.
Yeah.
So Saturday, November 15th, in Cromwell, Connecticut. I guess they moved. So, Khaki Week's a wonderful conference. Learn a lot there. So, and we pay for it. We pay for your the conference. So if anyone's interested, you can ask me for the link, or you go to the Khaki Week website and register, and then just let
me know.
Let Grace know. And Jean raised her hand. Jean.
This Wednesday, September 24th at 6:30 p.m. at the Pomfret Community Center, they're going to have a program on knotweed.
Oh, wow.
Which is very appropriate. And I believe it was Jane Seymour from DEP who is going to give the presentation. So if anybody wants to get up to speed on knotweed management, this is a great opportunity for a free program. And on October 4th, there is a native plant seedling sale at Spring Valley Farm, which is associated with Yukon. So if anybody wants information about that, send me an email and I'll get you the address and whatnot for that.
Okay. On to open discussion. Jean.
Well, the workshop announcements was mostly what I was going to say. So done.
Okay. Maura.
Nope, all set.
Jim.
Nope, nothing.
Crystal.
Nope.
Grace.
Are we going to try to set up an extra meeting to discuss some of the things we want to get off the ground, as in Stewart's, for one thing. I mean, these are wonderful ideas, but
Well, Jim had talked about a subcommittee for that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so we don't need a full committee meeting.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But we should put some dates out there for this stuff.
Right, Jim will let us know, I'm sure.
All right.
Well, I didn't hear any resounding interest.
Oh, no, I will volunteer for that. I'm
Oh, great.
preemptively volunteering to do that if we decide
Yeah,
that
and
that's.
I mean, if we all like Jim, it's not a lot of work. It would be if we all had 2 everybody in the committee took 2 properties, then, you know, it's, or 4 properties and it's every other year, then, you know, you're only responsible for 2 properties a year. So it's not that, you know,
I can't do that. Thank you.
okay. So,
Jean has her.
I have a
Oh, Jean.
question. This is Jean. I have a question for Jason. Could you please describe the project that you did at Crystal Pond Park that I think is so awesome?
Oh, yeah. So they actually did a really significant project in terms of preventing runoff. So they brought in some type of, they made a berm along the edge of the property where it goes down to the water. And they put some, I forgot what it was, but it's some kind of special. It's not just regular logs. It's like,
It's Coir logs, COIR.
yes, I think so.
It's an erosion control.
So then they had that and they had a berm, but then they had nothing to put on the berm. So I have been raising native seedlings. I actually winter sowed a bunch of stuff. So I donated 60 1-year-old various native flowers and went down last weekend and planted them with one of the board members. And then I went back and checked on them yesterday and they had mulched over, because when we were done, I was like, hey, this is all great, but these things are not going to develop a good root system right away. So we don't want this berm to wash away the other way. They went down and mulched it time, you know, very, very, maybe like in the last day or 2. So, yeah, it was a great, I mean, I think they had a great plan. They just needed some plants that weren't going to break the budget to make it work. And so we were able to kind of put the whole thing together.
Cool.
Maura, this would be interesting for you to share with the NATOG group because it's in the watershed.
I was just thinking that, and I feel like, Jason, do you have a, somebody there that I could talk to, contact? Because we've invited folks from there to NATOG meetings, but nobody was able to come, so I think that'd be a great, to maybe try to do you know, invite people to see what they've done, if it's a really good.
Absolutely. So there's one person on the board who I only met once, who was like the most gung-ho about the water quality. And that's not who my contact is. So I'll see if I can get her contact info, because she's probably going to be the most likely
Okay.
person.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, anything else? Jason, you're up for open discussion. You got anything else?
I have nothing else. No.
Okay, then I guess for me, we could use some warm bodies. I'm trying to get people. I'm talking up the committee, but if anyone knows anybody who is interested, be nice to get some young blood in. Otherwise, anything else for the good of the order, or is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
And Jim seconds. Okay. Thank you for all your good work, everybody.
Thanks.
So I'll probably be in touch with Eugene between now and the next meeting. So everybody have a good rest of the summer.
What? It's fall.
Now
Today's
it's.
the first
Yeah,
day of
right.
fall.
Today's fall?
Yeah.
So tomorrow
Well,
was fall.
yesterday, I think.
Today.
Oh, that's
come
right.
on.
Today was
Yeah.
the-
22nd. I've been off.
Woodstock.
I was at a conference for the last few days, so
Summer's a state of mind.
So you missed summer?
I missed summer. Yeah, it went, shoo, just missed it. Oh
All
well.
right.
Okay,
Thank
welcome
you.
to
Night,
welcome to fall.
everybody. Crystal, I look forward to getting that language from you.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Take care. Why won't this stop? I want to leave.